Well, oddly enough, I filmed this backwards. Actually, many years ago. I've had this sitting on my computer hard drive for a long time. But where I am at right now is a place called the Crack on Beaver Creek. It's kind of the destination of this trail for most of us. I mean, there are ways to go further on different trails, but this is where most people end up when they hike Beaver Creek. And as you can see, it's a real pretty spot. It's got a nice little pool of water here and there. This little pool right here, you'll find all kinds of people around this on a weekend. This happened to be during the week. And just a little bit above it, there's another little pool right here where there actually were a couple kids that were doing a little bit of fishing here. Additionally, the trail does actually seem to go on a little bit further, although it's no longer the Bell Trail at this point. It's I don't know, just a trail that kind of follows the creek up. I don't know how far it goes because I've never actually tried to do that. But as you can see, it's really a beautiful little spot down in here where you have, nice shade and water. And this particular trip was done in the heat of the day during the week, which is, that kind of explains why there are so few people back in here. There's might be a couple shots that have a couple people in it, but that's about it. It was actually very hot this day. But what I want to do first is I want to show you how you might research something like this on Google Earth. Now, Google Earth is one of those magnificent programs out there that a lot of people, I think most of us know how to use it, but I was surprised when I surveyed my customers that only half know how to use it. Well, here we are in Arizona, and what I want to do is this particular trail is almost right in the center of Arizona, believe it or not. It's off of I-17. The trailhead is off I-17 by about 2 miles, which I'll show you here in a second. The way to get there is from the intersection of State Route 179 and I-17. So if we zoom in to that particular intersection and then come out just a little bit so I can show you here, we can use our little ruler here to figure out how far it is from the intersection. As it turns out, it's about 2 miles as the crow flies. And of course, I'm using miles. You could change the units if you're more used to some other thing. Now if I come way out and take a look at it from the trailhead there back to what really amounts to the Crack is about 3 miles straight on. And if I turn this, get into 3D mode and have a look at it, you can see the trail kind of traverses along Beaver Creek here and ends up back at the Crack. It's maybe about a 4-mile hike along the trail. Now, if you stick with me to the end, I'm going to show you a couple other little places back in here where you might do some winter camping, or where it's actually legal to camp from your car. So back here at the Crack, we're kind of on the trail just up above those little pools of water, if you will. And as you can see, it's really quite a nice little spot here. Now, if we get back on the Bell Trail and go down where it crosses the creek, which is a little bit before the Crack actually, what you'll see here is that there's a place to go right across the creek, but one of the things you'll notice is that it's not legal to camp here. You can't camp here, and you can't have campfires here. If you want to camp anywhere, you have to hike up out of the canyon that Beaver Creek is in. So this is the trail going back from the crossing up to what really amounts to the main Beaver Creek Trail. And as you can see up here at the top of this thing, If we were to go left, that'll take you to the crack. Right takes you down to the Bell Crossing. The trail, turns out, is pretty nice. It's just sandy in spots, rocky in spots. I've sped the film up here by probably 3 times or so, just because I want to give you an idea of what it's like. And as you can see, it's kind of a neat little hike, especially up here the closer you get to the crack. Now, of course, we're walking out versus walking in, but I did want to show you this little thing, and that's you can actually see the trail traversing up the other side. That's the Bale Trail after it's crossed the creek. And I will show you a little more about that here in a minute on Google Earth. You notice I stumbled across one of the indigenous critters here. I think it was exercise time for him. There's a lot of things you might find on this trail, including those shaky tail things. You just avoid them, they'll avoid you. That's the rule of rattlesnakes. Now, as you're walking the trail, you don't want to get to gawking around too much, because you actually do kind of get pretty close to the edge here in spots, and it wouldn't take much to slip off here if you happen to be looking around at other things. Rubbernecking, as we refer to it. I like this one particular spot right here, and you can just kind of walk off of the trail a little bit and get over here toward the edge, take a good look down the inside. And you can see there are little pools of water down in there too, but I don't think it's particularly easy to get down there. Now, this is looking with Google Earth kind of down on that spot where we're at right now. I'll turn it and put it in the 3D mode. I think we're kind of right about here at the moment where that red spot is, and we're looking down into that pool of water. So going back to the actual footage, that we're right about here, in other words. And that's one of the uses of Google Earth is, it gives you the ability to kind of look at places you've been before, and also, put it in perspective in terms of the overall hike. And also to research hikes. Yeesh, gotta be kind of careful through here. But I just love these kind of trails. They're pretty cool. Now, in Arizona, anywhere you have water, the deciduous trees just line up like kids in a lunch line, I think. That's kind of down by where the Ware Trail ends up. I've never actually hiked that Ware Trail, but I think that's where it ends up. You can see we've got some pretty neat stuff looking the other direction too. Some little holes and rocks where critters might live, and it's all sandstone down here, but if you look way up there at the top, that's basalt, which is technically lava rock. Now we're starting to kind of get down a little bit closer to where the water actually is. Now you never get close to the water though. Now here's the Apache Maid trailhead, and there's 3 ways to actually hike out of this canyon on a trail. One of them is the Apache Maid trail, which, is pretty good grind to get up out of this thing. And as you can see, if we come out and get in the 3D mode again, Apache Maid turns out to be quite a ways over there. That's it, way over there. So that trailhead actually goes all the way over there, which is considerably further than hiking to the crack. And then here's another trail that comes up out of there. This is the White Mesa Trail. And as you can see, what you have to do here is you have to get up above this rim rock and through here in order to legally camp. And they've done this just because people have not been very dutiful about taking their trash with them, and plus, honestly, I don't think the Forest Service is funded well enough these days to, you know, to look after these things. But the last way to get out is the Bell Trail itself, and that is another considerable hike out. Now this is actually back at pretty close to the Trailhead, where you'll notice you have a choice of either going left on the Bell Trail or right on the Weir Trail, and you know, it just turns out to be a pretty cool little day hike. Something I think you'll really enjoy if you do it. It's quite a nice little spot in here. Weekends it's really busy. Honestly, too busy for me. I always do it during the week. Now, let me show you a few things, places around here where you could camp. So we're going to launch Google Earth. So I'm going to go like this, and I'm going to orient north. And we're going to be about right in here, I think. About right there. And let's come down to our intersection. First thing I want to point out to you is everything over here on the left, that's not campable. Yeah, you don't want to camp over here on your left. Technically, you're not supposed to be over there. There are some strange rules associated with Sedona people for that. But over here on the right, what you do if you get off of 179 here, and let me get my ruler. I'm going to go from here to there's a little bit less than a mile. This road right here, this goes down to Montezuma Wells, and going this way goes to a place called Red Tank Draw. And as you can see, it's from the road, it's maybe, I'm in meters at the moment, let's go to miles. It's 1.5 miles from here to here to here is about 1.5 miles as a crow flies. You can see on the road it's probably going to be about 2 miles. This is called Red Tank Draw right here. And all this area right back in here, you can camp back in there if you want to. Looks like there's somebody, when they took this picture, I'm going to guess there was somebody camped right there, as a matter of fact. Let's pull in. Looks like somebody was camped in here right at when they took that picture. Now the other place that's of interest, so in other words, this is right off the road, and it's not very far from what amounts to the trailhead for the Beaver Creek Trail. Now the other thing is, look at this road right here, which is just before the Beaver Creek Trail. It comes off this way, drives back in a couple miles, probably about, well, what is it? Let's take a look. And by the way, if we wanted a little more accurate rating, we'd do something like this. I tell you, I just love Google Earth. It's just one of those tools that will really help you out once you learn how to use it. You'll just end up getting, you know, a whole lot better idea. It looks to me like that's about 2.3 miles by the road. So let's see where that ends up. Is actually a campground, believe it or not. However, looks like Lawrence Crossing Campground. It's kind of a weird campground. It's not a picnic table, drive your car to your spot campground. Instead, what you have to do is you park right in here in these areas, and then you carry your camping stuff to the camp spots, which are right along the creek. This is Wet Beaver, and that's right along Wet Beaver, and it is a pretty good place to camp. Looks like they probably got an outhouse there, but you know, the problem is you got to carry your stuff to wherever you're camped, which, You know, isn't that big a deal if you know it and are prepared for it. So those are two places that I could tell you about. By the way, this is a good hike here up Wet Beaver, which also comes out up here at the Beaver Creek Ranger Station. But this road right here has a lot of camping on it as well. Although you do have to watch out for your private property. There's a ranch here. There's another one over here. But really, outside of that, you can camp pretty much anywhere in there. And as you go along, there's a lot of places along there to camp. This road actually comes all the way along and comes out over here on Highway 260, which is right about in here. Road comes out down here, and one of the interesting things is right here is another road that comes off. It's pretty rough. It takes you back to the bullpen, which is another place that I'm going to show you about. I have a bunch of footage on my hard drive. I'm going to show you how to do a hike that comes up out and you ride back down on your bike this way, which is really kind of cool. Anyway, Google Earth, gosh, if you don't know how to use it, you're just completely silly. You got to learn how to use it. So go camping and use Google Earth.